the problematic ideas that I think cause the collapse of any civilization, any empire, Rome included. And I literally watched a bunch of documentaries on the collapse of Rome specifically for this. And this is exactly what you see. So you've got people start to believe that prosperity is a fundamental law of nature that's just going to happen, and they take it for granted. They begin to believe that the group owes the individual versus the individual owing the group. And so the group begins to basically take away from the individual so they can distribute to the group. A little counterintuitive, but that's the inversion that happens. Begin to believe that redistribution is the miracle instead of prosperity, being this hard fought thing that you cannot take for granted. They start to believe that everything is a social construct, that there's no ground truth, that we can push back against nature. It doesn't have any fundamental laws. Diversity of values of the same team is inherently good. We actually didn't talk about that. But to encapsulate it quickly so that we can get on to the good stuff. Again, to quote Thomas Sowell, nothing has ever been taken as fact without so little evidence as diversity being our greatest advantage. And he went on to say that diversity is not by default an advantage. Diversity is the thing that we have to overcome. I'll say that I think to keep that comment from becoming pathologized, it's really diversity of values that are the problem. Ironically, you want a diversity of approach. You want different mindsets. So you want visionaries and executors, which will always have friction between them. You want men and women in a marriage is a great example. You need the friction between them to raise a child well. But diversity of values, I think, is problematic. So at Impact Theory, we have a set of values that I publish, and I say, hey, here is the culture at Impact Theory. If you don't like this, this is not the place for you. And we will not hire somebody that does not share those values. So, but whether they're male, female, gay, straight, man, woman, black, white, China, could not care less. I care not at all for whether we end, like if this company ends up being all black women, I'm here for it. As long as we share values and we have all the different idea sets and they'll challenge each other and challenge power and all that stuff, word. So we happen to have a diverse group visually, but we didn't hire for that. We hired entirely for, do we share values, and will you buy into competing based on meritocracy and ideas? Don't tear it all down. They start to believe to tear it all down is better than incremental improvement. Masculinity and aggression is toxic. Becomes all about spending money, racking up debt, printing money. Okay, now the new set of rules. I'll run through them quickly, and then you tell me which one you want to dive into. So I think people need to seek self-correcting structures. I'll call that the American experiment. So it's ideas that force itself to spiral upward. You have to want dynamic tension between opposing forces. So left, right is the easiest one. You have to want there to be a left and a right. You have to want that dynamic tension. I have evolutionary reasons why I think that's true. I believe that everybody should have the North Star of human flourishing. You have to steer by results. So if our North Star is human flourishing, that we try something, but if it didn't work, we have to admit that it didn't work and try something else. Need to reward merit, even though it will yield inequality, because some people are just smarter and better than others. I fucking wish that wasn't true, because there are so many people that are smarter than me. Freedom of speech, absolute cornerstone. You have to seek disconfirming evidence, which is part of why you need freedom of speech. You need to reinstitute rule of law. I actually heard a really interesting story from your partner, Francis Foster, who said one of the things that was a hallmark of Venezuela was they started to not impose punishments because that was right-wing authoritarianism. And so he was like, it became the murder capital of the world and a whole bunch of other horrific things. So you do need to reinstitute rule of law. So going back to this idea of we've pulled all these threads of the sweater and it's now falling apart, you need structure. And in the constraints is the creativity. So I think that's important. And then overhauling education so that everyone is trained in useful ideas so that they can maximize whatever skills and talents they do have. So even though it will be unequal, there's no reason that the idea starting line, because our talents, unfortunately, will always be unequal, but that the idea starting line can't be equalized, especially with the fucking internet. Go to YouTube, the smartest people in the world, and I will not count myself among them, but the smartest people in the world are giving their best ideas away as fast as they can fucking talk on any subject you can possibly imagine, all for free. All you have to do is be able to access the internet. And P.S., if your country is clamping down on the internet, that's a red fucking flag.
Agree with all of that. It's all great.
Any you want to add?
No, that I think that you nailed it exactly.
All right, so let's go into them. Which do you think are most important?
I think they're all super important. It's like saying which of your legs is more important.
I think you have to rank order. My right leg is more important than my left.
Is it?
Yes. Why do people... So you are fucking smart. Why is your initial reaction to not want to rank order things? I find, in fact, now I'm going to talk to you. You're a budding entrepreneur.
Yeah.
My friend, you will have to get fiercely good at rank ordering everything.
Agreed.
Who's better, you or Francis? At what? Of course, it will be different at different things, but you're going to need to know on everything that matters which one of us is better.
Agreed.
Who are your best employees? Again, along different dimensions. What tasks should you do first? You can't do two things at once.
I'm pretty good at that at this point. I have
so
I
now,
have a lot to improve.
You're going to rank order these fucking things.
Okay,
or at least
I'll give you
me...
two answers. One will sound glib, as I can't remember all of them.
Okay, fair.
Number
Would you
one.
like to look at them?
Could do. Number two, I do think sometimes it's like...
It's the new rules section.
Yes. But it's also like, what is more important to bake a cake? Flour or a bowl? Well, you kind of need...
Flour.
Bowl, bad example. Flour
no, I'm
or...
going to be a dick and just keep doing that. Of course, I understand your point. Your point is taken.
Everything.
But yes, I do though think that people create a certain amount of paralysis for themselves.
All right, fine. To stop you being a dick.
There you go.
Well, I fucking can't. Okay, steer by results.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's obviously super important. But can you steer by results if there's no rule of law? If there's fucking people running around stealing shit all around you? I mean, you can try, but without the rule of law.
So I'll give you the steer by results. To me is the ground truth,
Agreed.
which you said is the thing that you're trying to do. I think you've already got it.
Yeah.
With the truth is ultimately the only thing that's going to take you where you want to go.
Yeah. So I think there's stuff in here that follows from that. If you steer by results, you will necessarily reward merit, even though it creates inequality, right? So you can cut that one out, actually. You just need to steer by results. Then that is a natural process.
Okay, it's interesting. There's something happening between the two of us. Our worldviews are colliding right now.
Ooh, hello.
And I don't know if it matters, and so I'll touch on it briefly and see if it seems like it's going to go somewhere interesting. I run into this. I think that the very thing that makes me a good entrepreneur is that I am willing to speak in binaries and rank order everything.
Okay.
And I think people get lost in that everything is interconnected, because that is true, and it will also fuck you up.
Why?
Because you'll get lost in the complexity and you won't boil things down to what do I do with the next 15 minutes of my life? And ultimately, this is the reason that the vast majority of companies never make it to $1 million is the person doesn't understand the physics of progress. And what the physics of progress forces you to do is accept that you have imperfect knowledge, but you must act as if you have perfect knowledge. And then as you act with your imperfect knowledge, so I'll explain it this way. You have two jobs. Job number one is to intoxicate your team with certainty, because otherwise you can't galvanize a bunch of people, which you said. The alpha male is the one that can create unity amongst the group. Okay, the only way to do that is to give them certainty.
Agreed.
If you can, oh my God, your Oxford speech. You said, let me tell you what Xi Jinping is doing. The only way he's going to stay in power is if he gives people the one thing they want, which is prosperity. So it's like, okay, cool. We know that there are going to be certain ideas that they're actually going to move the needle. They're going to move people forward, and they're going to be ideas that are not. So we're going to be in this loop of, I'm going to intoxicate people's certainty. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you prosperity. I'm going to promise it, and cool. But if Xi Jinping is actually going to be successful, he has to go, is this zero COVID policy working? People are starting to riot a lot. I don't like this. I'm going to adjust. So he has to have some mechanism by which he's checking himself. So I've told everybody, hey, everybody, without question, as if it were divine statement, zero COVID. And then it's like, oh shit, it's not leading to prosperity. I'm going to check that. I'm seeking disconfirming evidence. Okay, fuck, this isn't working. I'm going to adjust. And hey, everybody, as if I never said this other thing, zero COVID is stupid. And now we're going to unlock and we're going to open. So you have to intoxicate people with certainty, and you have to constantly check yourself to see if that's actually true and update your thinking. And so it is very difficult to do. But people that can't do it, and most people can't because they're so lost in, oh, but it's all interconnected and all of these things are important. Yes, motherfucker, I understand that, but you have to do a thing. And P.S., you have to tell people what thing they should be doing. And so if you don't tell people, we're doing this, and my best guess of how to get there is this, so go do that. And then, by the way, your employees are going to push back on you. They're going to fucking test you, and they're going to see, are you the right alpha, or should I be running this company? Because there is one immutable truth. If you're anything like me, and unfortunately I'm not Steve Jobs enough to just be like, look, asshole, this is fucking awesome. What you just said is dog shit. Go do what I said, which apparently is literally how he talked. I can't do that. So I'm not smart enough to have all the right answers. So I have to let people challenge me. But if I'm not the right person to lead, now we're in trouble. So I have to let them challenge me, but I have to squash rebellion. So anyway, this is what happens to people. They get so lost, oh, maybe you really are right, that they are not like, no, we're not fucking doing that. Thank you. I heard your arguments. I steel man their arguments so I know they understood. And when they're right, I just go, you're right. Boom. We're instituting that immediately. But if it's, I think, the wrong thing, and now they're high on their own supply because maybe their last 3 ideas I implemented right away. They're like, no, Tom, you don't understand. I've got to be able to squash that rebellion. Anyway.
I've got no problem doing any of that.
Word. But this comes down to being able to say this fucking thing is the thing we need to do right now.
The slogan is that I say to all our team is, the only reason we're all here is we care about the outcome. This isn't about you. It's not about me. It's not about Francis. It's not about anybody. It's about the outcome.
Smart.
If what you're doing is furthering that outcome, great. If what you're doing is not furthering that outcome, we don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Steer by results is basically that, right? So to me, that's number one. Seeking disconfirming evidence seems to me to be part of that too, right? Because that is what you have to do.
How do you do that in your life?
Seek disconfirming evidence. You know, probably not well enough because I wait for life to slap me in the face. And then I'm like, oh, shit, okay, that wasn't good.
It's interesting. You have a persona that makes me nervous. I could never adopt your persona, which I get is a reflection of who you really are. But on Twitter, like, you go hard on people. And I'm always like, I'm too afraid I'm going to change my mind. Like 2 weeks from now when I get better evidence, that I'm way more gentle.
It depends what you're talking about, though. I don't think you're going to change your mind about the fact that meritocracy is superior to diversity artificially created.
I have a high degree of confidence on that.
Me too. And that's why I go hard at people who try to substitute one for the other.
So you only go hard on the things that you're already like super high confidence.
And then if I don't know about something, I don't say anything about it.
If you like that clip, check out another powerful clip right here, and I'll see you there.